In this video, we'll go over how we went from this in California to this in Japan. The process of bringing dogs into Japan was quite a journey. If you're here, you're probably going through the same process we went through just 6 months ago. We moved from California to Japan with 3 dogs and 3 bunnies. I want to go over the process for moving dogs in this video. Check out our separate video on how to move bunnies in our link. This is not your one-stop shop with all the information you'll need since there are too many variables. I want to share our experiences, but please understand you'll have to do your own research too. We'll start with booking your flight. Make sure you trust the airline because I've heard way too many horror stories with some airlines. The most important first step is to narrow your search. We narrowed it down to Japan Airline and ANA, or All Nippon Airline. When doing my research, ANA and Japan Airline both told me there were 2 different sizes for their vessels. The smaller one only had 2 holding compartments, and the bigger one had 5 holding compartments. Once you have your plan of which flight you think you want to take for the move, you'll need to call customer service. They will then check to see if there are other customers that booked the pet compartment. If they give you the green light of having enough space in the pet compartment, you'll want to hang up, book the flight, then call them back. This is because they can't help you add the pet compartment onto your ticket until you have a booking number. The process was a little different between Japan Airline and ANA. Don't want to get into too much detail, but I will say that I booked Japan Airline originally, canceled the ticket, and I went with ANA. Their customer service was top-notch, and they were nothing but helpful. Woohoo! If you're bringing more than one pet, each pet will need to be in its own crate. Each crate does cost $400, and for dogs, the crate will need to be IATA approved. I also want to mention that each airline has limit on how big the crates can be and how heavy the crates can be with your dog in them. And I don't remember the specifications, but I will say that our 60-pound Husky German Shepherd had no issues with the crate being her size and her weight. As soon as we decided on our move to Japan, we bought the crates for our dogs. We wanted to crate train them, and we purchased the bottles that could go on the crates that you can add for them to drink water. And this is us crate training them as well as training them to drink water out of the bottles, which we miserably failed at. Now that you've taken care of the flight, let's talk about paperwork. To start, you need at least 6 months to prepare your dogs to Japan. And this is because you need at least 6-month waiting period after you take their titer test to the day of their departure. And if you cut that 180-day waiting period short, you will need to quarantine them for the remainder of that period once you arrive in Japan. Before you start your process, learn from us. Do your research. The health certificate will eventually need to be signed by a USDA-approved vet. It's best to stay with one vet from the start of the process all the way till the end. We switched vets midway through our process because we realized that the USDA-approved veterinarian that we were working with didn't really know the process specifically for moving pets to Japan. And if you've already started the process, I would recommend making sure that your vet has experience moving dogs to Japan. And this is specific for the titer test process. This is because the titer test will need to be shipped out to a third-party lab that is approved by Japan. And if your vet doesn't have experience with moving pets to Japan, you might need to do your own research. You'll have to figure out which labs are approved by Japan and specifically ask your vet to send your titer test to these labs. Now let's go through the process from the beginning. Your dog must be microchipped. If they haven't been already, they must be microchipped before their first rabies vaccination. The microchipping and the vaccination could be done in one appointment. Then they'll have to wait 30 or more days for rabies vaccination number 2. At this appointment, they'll have the rabies antibody test done as well. This is the titer test. On this day will be day 0. You'll have to wait 180 days or more after this date for your departure date. The next appointment will be to obtain your health certificate, and this appointment can only be done 10 days or less prior to your departure date. Speaking from experience, I highly recommend scheduling that appointment as close to the 10-day mark as possible, but not more than 10 days. Now let's talk about documents. You will need to notify the Japan Animal Quarantine Center at least 40 days before your arrival day. You'll be in communication with the Animal Quarantine Center because they will ask for your health certificate that was issued 10 days prior to your arrival so that they can pre-approve it. So if you've done your research and you've done your homework, now is the day of departure. When you go and check in at the front desk, they will ask for 3 documents. 1, the Certificate of Acceptance of Notification. This is the acceptance received by the Animal Quarantine Center saying that you have notified them 40 days prior to your arrival date. 2nd are the rabies antibody test certification. With this, you will need Form AC, something that will look like this. And lastly, you should have your certification for your 2 rabies shots. And after you've checked in, they will bring you over to the inspection counter. We were worried what kind of inspections they were going to do on our dogs, but it was very, very quick. They probably took about 30 seconds per dog. And after the inspection was when we said our goodbyes. They were wheeled into the back room, and our poor babies had no idea what was going on. And this is why it's so important to get your crate ahead of time so that they feel comfortable inside their own crate. You are able to add bedding, but you cannot add any toys because it is a choking hazard. Fast forward 12 hours and we arrived in Japan. By the time we deboarded the plane, went through immigration, and walked over to our baggage claims, the dogs were already waiting for us with the airport workers. Then it was time for the inspection that we were so worried about. We were told that it would be about 30 minutes, but once we arrived there, the airport workers took us to the animal inspection area, and all they had to do was beep their microchip to confirm with the paperwork that this was the correct dog, and we were on our way out. If you have waited the 180 days after their titer test, there is no quarantine required for the dogs. So if you're arriving at Haneda Airport Terminal 3, you will arrive on the 2nd floor. Unfortunately, this terminal does not have a relief area for the dogs, so we were told to go downstairs, to go outside, and to do their business in front of the animal quarantine office right next door. All in all, the hardest part of moving dogs to Japan was the paperwork and the documents that needed to be done prior to departure. I hope you found all this information helpful. And if you'd like, please visit our website and contact us so we can send you the PDF version of all this information. And please don't forget to like and subscribe so that we can continue making content of our lives in Japan after moving from the States.
What was that?